Yeah, I think we're good to go live at 10 o'clock, Chair, so precise already.
So are we live?
Yeah, feel free to begin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this meeting of the Scottish Police Authorities Legal Committee. We have just one possible apology from one of our members, Katrina Stewart, who I know is having IT problems, but hopefully can join us very swiftly. Any declarations of interest or connections? Committee members, no. Decisions taken since the last meeting. I think it's right to record that there has been one decision taken in respect of a legal claim, and indeed I think, although can be confirmed later on, that probably actually now appears on the in item 3, the claims handling, but that's otherwise not. Decisions on taking business in private. The suggestion is that we take items as is usual from 5 through to 8 in private. Are members content? Okay, thank you very much. So the minute and actions from the previous meeting, and we'll note actually that we are having fewer meetings than we had intended for the legal committee, but importantly, because we highlighted at the beginning of the year that transparency was one of our key themes. So we are holding those items of business which we can legitimately hold in public. We are holding in public, but the nature of the business is such that quite a lot has to be conducted in private. But in respect of the minutes of the last meeting, is everybody content with those? Thank you very much indeed. And there was just one action, and it was the legal update. James, you kindly gave us a narrative in August. We had hoped perhaps for an update by September. We haven't got anything with these, but you may care to deal with that at item 3, although in fact we're just about to move on to item 3. So let's treat it as item 3, because I don't actually propose to close. Well, I propose to hold over to item 3, move to item 3, and then you can give us an update in that context. I think that's probably the way to deal with it. You content with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. So item 3, which is on legal claims handling and quarterly information such as we have it, and then perhaps progress. So James. Okay.
If you're content for me to address the report, then more than happy to do that, Chair, and then I'll come to the work that's been done on the claims register. The report is the usual report that's put before the committee, outlining the cases that have been settled by Police Scotland in both the previous quarter and the financial year to date. I'll take the report as having been read, but as you can see from the papers there, we've settled 10 cases in the last in the last quarter, which is slightly up on what we settled the previous quarter. But as this committee has been aware of for quite some time, the timing of settlements, there's no science to it. What I can say for your comfort, members, is that there is nothing within the tables under employer liability that gives me undue concern. It's just the timing of these things being settled. There was one case which the committee is aware of where we settled for 185,000. That's clearly brought the amount of the settlement in the last quarter up, and accordingly represents 82% of the settlements within this current financial year. Obviously that figure's slightly skewed given that The settlement of 185,000 came in the second quarter, so we're only looking at the 2 quarters to date. Public liability claims, we settled 14, which is roughly in line with the previous quarter. Again, there is nothing within the public liability sphere that I wish to highlight and call out for your attention. These things are pretty static, and there is nothing untoward in there. The motor liability claims, we settled 79, and that represents about 36% of the claims that we settled within the last financial year. Again, there is nothing in there that is a cause for concern. The figures are roughly in line with the historic settlements that we have achieved over the last 5 years. As you may recall, you wished the historic settlements to be made part of this report as well. And then you'll see from the appendix that what we're settling at the moment is roughly in line with regards to numbers of cases. I did highlight at the last committee that the figures are up, but that is just as a result of real world activity. Parts for cars are more expensive now. Getting parts for cars is more difficult, so accordingly people are on higher agreements for longer periods, and that is the reason why the figures are slightly higher this year than they perhaps have been, but the numbers of claims themselves are pretty much in line with the historic situation. Other than that, Chair, I think the table, as I say, the tables represent the figures. They're there, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions on that.
Thank you very much. Any questions from panel members? Comments? I wonder, James, just for absolute clarity, these are claims referred to as settled. Does that mean settled by agreement, or does it include amounts awarded by a court?
It would involve both, but as you'll be aware, Chair, the overwhelming majority of these cases are settled by negotiated settlement.
Absolutely, but if we wanted to drill down further, you could identify, because it does include the small number, which are where it is awarded by the court. So it's the totality of the claims.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And my other clarification is, does this include legal costs, or are these simply principal sums?
These are principal sums.
Right, so it doesn't include legal costs at this point. Okay, thank you very much. Grant.
Thanks, Chair. Just one question, James. I wonder if you could comment, just for information. You talk about in this report about the ones that have been settled, but I wonder if you can give us some sort of clues as to, is there a lot in the pipeline?
I suppose it's difficult to give a categorical answer to that, Grant, simply because Police Scotland's legal department will always seek to settle a matter where we think we're in the wrong. Taking any matter to court is going to be more expensive for us. So we do keep these matters under consideration. What I can tell you is that there has been no undue increase in the number of claims that we are facing. However, I do have a slightly sorry tale to tell when we get to the litigation tables update, where I will have to bring to members' attention a couple of cases where there are potentially large settlements coming down the pipeline. But to answer your question, it's difficult to give you any scientific yes or no on that. But there is nothing, as I say, untoward. There is nothing where I'm saying, oh my goodness, look at the number of cases that we're looking at be settling. There's nothing any different just now than there was any other time when I've been with Police Scotland.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
And that gives us some information in our historic context. the number of cases. We're also, just as part of a general benchmarking, and then Brown may be able to comment on that, just looking at how we might be able to do some benchmarking against relevant organisations. Chief Executive, I wonder, do you want to comment on that? Or
yeah, but we are looking at we're doing some benchmarking on our corporate responsibilities, and we'll benchmark against other similar organisations such as British Transport Police, other police boards such as PSNI, and legal is one of those areas that we're looking at amongst a whole range of others. Chair, thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, so at this point, and obviously we are talking, although it feels like later in the year, actually this is reporting on mid-year figures, but at mid-year what you're saying is no cause for concern from your point of view in terms of the numbers. I mean, I suppose the issue, which is the next thing, is about organisational learning. How can we drive the number of claims and settlements down insofar as we can? It's unlikely you can never drive it down to zero, but is it possible to reduce them? Yeah. Everybody content with that? Okay, thank you very much. And then the final item in public, I think, is just to refer to the legal committee work plan. And there was reference, in fact, at the last meeting, and just to confirm that we will be having a development day in late January, early February, which should be inserted in there. And I think the focus of that is going to be on organisational learning, because that was one of the other trends, the other themes that we identified for the year, and how we are dealing with that. We can look at something that was highlighted to ARAC in the internal auditor's report, of a specific outstanding recommendation for organisational learning for legal claims, not just generic things. So that will be a helpful starting point, together with other aspects that we've identified in the course of the year. And that will feed into our statement of assurance for the annual report and accounts. Good. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. That concludes a very short public